Hello, my name is Eldred Allen, and I'm here at the Stephen Bulger Gallery in Toronto with my first solo exhibition outside of Newfoundland and Labrador, and it's called Scenes from Labrador. I'm an Inuk photographer from a small community in northern Labrador called Rigolet, and this is an exhibition that kind of showcases the type of subject matter and images that I capture. There's a variation between both color and black and white, and I also do handheld and drone photography, and it gives a nice depiction of where I live, the subject matter that I like to capture, and the traditional lifestyle of living in a community in northern Labrador. This image of my son is taken at our winter cabin, and it's very cold outside. It's minus 25 or 30 degrees. And when he opened the door in the morning, the rush of cold air entering our warm cabin creates all this mist, and it gives this nice ethereal effect. And I call it cold embrace because as Inuit people, we rely on and really enjoy the cold weather. And just seeing him there standing in the face of all that cold, not even any socks on his feet, I thought it was pretty striking and amazing image. And that coincides a little with this black and white image that I had taken outside. I enjoy doing photo walks in the nighttime when there's blizzards happening in the community because I like the atmosphere and the blowing snow. And this first image where, the cold is entering the house, this other black and white where there's a snowbank and the snow drifting towards the window, it looks like it's trying to get inside. This image I call Support, and it's a depiction of climate change. Climate change, of course, is having a dramatic impact in northern regions, and our community is suffering from the effects. And in the image, you can see all of the white, which looks like snow, and it is, but it's covering ice, and it's a body of water that has to freeze north of our community so we can travel across it on snowmobile to access our cabins and where we hunt and fish. And so in the fall, when things start to freeze up, everybody's always very anxious for this body of water to freeze so we can travel across safely. In the top of the picture, there's just a single snowmobile track. So this was the first gentleman for the year who went out on the ice to check to see if it was safe to cross or not. And even 20 years ago, at this point in the year, the ice here would have been 1 or 2 feet thick. But this was taken in 2021. And when he drove out on his snowmobile on the ice to check it, his snowmobile broke through and he lost it in about 100 feet of water. And he jumped off his snowmobile and luckily didn't break through the ice. But there were a few other gentlemen on the shoreline watching him. And when he was walking back to shore, they all walked out on the ice to meet him. So it's, something in our small communities. Everybody is always supporting each other. Here you can see a selection of my black and white photographs. They're all images that I've captured right within a few kilometers or within my community. And that's the amazing thing about where I live is, when I was learning photography, everyone says travel to all these exotic locations so you can take beautiful pictures. But fortunate for me, I have so much beauty around me, right at my fingertips that I don't have to travel and do exotic things to get interesting subject matter. In the image snowing, we were traveling on the ferry in the fall, and the spotlights of the ship were shining to see where they were traveling at night, but it was snowing as well. And so the snow is all blurred because of the long exposure passing through the spotlights of the ship. So it's just a day-to-day activity captured in a unique and interesting way. And that's what I like to do with my photography, is try to capture everyday activities in our lifestyle at home and present them in interesting ways. That also speaks to the images here that you see of the dogs that were just finished taking part in a dog sled race that we have every spring. So it was the Ron Pottle Memorial Dog Sled Race, where people that have dog teams from other communities as well travel in, and they use their dogs to race in a circular track on the open ice, and it's about 15-20 kilometers or so. And so the Huskies, of course, are trained to race, and they love racing. And you can see through the black and white pictures, I enjoy using texture and lines and the different tonalities of the black and white to just feature the subjects and make them stand out, because oftentimes I find if I capture a certain image in color, your eye gets drawn to the color, which is not exactly what, as a photographer, I want you to look at. But these black and white images of the dog sleds almost make it look like a timeless activity, and you just focus on the dogs and seeing the textures of their fur and the snowflakes that are landed on their backs as these dogs are sitting in a komatik, which the the dog team driver builds to separate the dogs and transport them. This image here is just a black and white image of my son. And I called it childhood because it speaks to his childhood, but to mine as well. We go and access our summer cabin, which we have to travel from the community by a speedboat. You know, we're completely disconnected from technology in the world. We're there as a family and enjoying getting out and, you know, interacting with the land and wildlife. And in the image here, he's just walking through a small pond of water. And you can see a string coming from his hand, and it's attached to a homemade wooden boat that I had made for him. And it speaks to our childhood and the simplicity of the lifestyle that we like to lead. And this image I called Mine, and it's a scene of ice pan. So it's just a chunk of ice that has broken off from the shoreline and it's just drifting out in the water. And it caught my eye just because of its shape and the very distinct contrast between, of course, the white ice pan itself and the blackness of the water. And it was a bonus that there were some seagulls that you can see. There's one landing here and two more, and this main seagull here was eating a seal pelt. So when this was attached to the shoreline, someone had cleaned the seal pelt and left it there on the edge of the ice. But of course the seagulls are now eating it. And again, it was, you know, we have such amazing access like to these scenes that this is right out in the harbor of my community. So I didn't have to travel far to get this image. It's amazing to be able to just go out on your doorstep and have such wonderful wildlife and scenery to be able to photograph and present to people.